are live. We are live. Crazy. Hello and welcome. Good evening, good afternoon, and good night, wherever you are in the world. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to episode 2. Yes, 2. We're doing this for a second time, the first of many, DayLight webcast photography conversation with myself, Olivier D, your wonderful host, hailing from Pontiac, Quebec, Canada, and my good friend and awesome 30-year photography veteran, David Esquire. And my God, we can only thank you so much for being here and just being part of this wonderful conversation. David and I. No, well, so it's a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, by the way, this is probably random and probably late, so we're like, what, the 16th? But, David, Happy New Year, because this is our first conversation since December. A month later.
Do it properly.
Do it properly.
Happy New Beer.
Happy New Beer!
Nachos and Newcastles.
It is pretty insane. We're off to a wonderful 2014, a wonderful start. Where there was so much great feedback over Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus about our last conversation. Everybody responded so positively to all the comments and your wonderful insight, David. My God, a lot of people just reached out to saying how accessible you were, and like, my God, a 30-year veteran, like you're just so laid back and so relaxed and so open. So that was a lot of fun. So it's so great to sit down with you again. And today's conversation is still going to be in that same vein because, again, our message is just about to inspire and motivate. And today, we're going to touch on mainly the subject of travel photography because, believe it or not, David is going to India. Is it Calcutta? Is it Calcutta?
Yes.
Yeah, Calcutta.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. How long is that flight, David? It's crazy.
I think it was like 28 or 29 hours. I've got 2 connections. I connect in Europe. I don't remember. I'm actually leaving for Atlanta in like 48 hours, so my brain is going to Atlanta right now, but in another 2.5 weeks, I'm going to Calcutta, and I land in Europe, and then I think I go to Japan, in China. I think I go to Shanghai, and then I catch a flight from there, and then I go to Calcutta.
That is insane.
So pretty amazing.
Is that your first time? Is it your first time in India, or?
To India, yes. Yes, it's my first time, and I'm really excited about it. It's for Shriradha and David's wedding, and it's a 3-day ceremony.
Wow.
This weekend, it's going to be the Mehendi and Sangeet, and that is basically like a farewell, where they anoint the bride and groom, and a lot of their family are going to be in Atlanta, so they're flying me to Atlanta this weekend, and we're having the celebration on Sunday, and then after that, we're going to be doing a bit of location scouting because they're having not only the wedding in India for her family, then they're going to have another wedding ceremony here in the United States in Atlanta in August, and it's just going to be awesome. I mean, we're going to have just so many different memories that I'll be able to catch for the rest of this year for them. I'm really
excited. Seems to be an elaborate plan. Elaborate plan. We're definitely going to touch a little bit on that because that's what we're going to get into, because we understand that in the realm of photography, you can choose to be local or international or both.
Yes.
What happens, and again, I'm sure you've been through that, through those different steps, like, okay, let me stay in my little cocoon, and then let me branch out, and then sometimes an opportunity happens, and then you go, why not? But we're definitely going to touch on that, and then I'm sure it's been a busy week for you, it's been a busy week for me, myself, and again, where it was just like, it's so crazy, because 2014 is all about, just about making things happen. This is the message we want to share. We want to help people get out of that shell and get out of that discomfort, where basically it's all about, are you sure I can? Are you sure I can? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt, it should stop being part of your business plan. Just like try to actually believe in yourself, and as stupid as it sounds, that's where it starts, and that's the message that I believe we want to share for the time being. And again, people just need to understand that it is within themselves, and every single step is a choice. And whether you aim for your art or your creativity or your business or your personal well-being or your health or your spirituality, it's very important to first and foremost believe in yourself, because if you don't, no one else will. There's also the very little interesting thing that you shared on Facebook this week regarding new services that Esquire Photography is actually offering right now. It's like, it's no surprise right now, so you'll actually let it out, but we're definitely going to talk about it. Instagram weddings, David?
Something about
Instagram weddings. So, that is pretty insane, because when I saw that, it's like, okay, first of all, he teased for a good 2 days, like, okay, there's a new something coming with Esquire, I was like, okay, what is he thinking about right now? It's like, okay, and when you finally let go of that, I'm like, okay, so pretty, because we were talking about this off air, you joke around where you told yourself, you imagine someday where we're basically going, somebody would show up to a wedding and just do an entire wedding with an iPhone, which basically isn't really that far off, because with how far the iPhone has gotten thus far, it is a pretty awesome camera. It is a very performing piece of hardware, so there's no reason why you couldn't do a wedding with a camera, with an iPhone. Of course, if you have to know how to use it, obviously. But I'd really love to touch on, first of all, what motivated that, and basically how would you convince a bride and groom to step out of the entire wedding photographer gear, big ass coverage, and then down to Instagram. It's like it's crazy. It's crazy. So I'd love to touch on that. Of course, there's so much where we could talk. Of course, we're going to try to keep it concise, keep it clear. But then again, this is your show. We're here to talk. Like anybody who wants to hit us on Twitter and Facebook, go ahead. We're going to try to pack in as much as we can. Of course, trying to keep it very concise, because again, we don't want to give a little too much. But hey, we're here. We're just like making it happen. And again, Happy New Year. So, hey, it's pretty crazy. So, to fire it up just a little bit, how does somebody go from being a local Newport Beach photographer and then having a client reach out to you to go to a wedding in India? Fill me on the scenario. How does that happen?
It's really quite simple, actually. I had photographed a wedding in San Diego about three and a half years ago, roughly. And Shriradha and David, they were just dating at the time, and we all connected. They were just such a cool couple to meet. I had fun capturing portraits of them, along with everybody else that was at the wedding. And then last year, they had contacted me and had inquired if I had, was interested in traveling internationally for a wedding, and I said, yes, I have done that before. And we met up in downtown Los Angeles. They were actually on vacation in San Francisco, and they caught a train from San Francisco down to LA, and I met them at Union Station, and we went to the downtown basically hangout that I like to go to, which is the Standard in downtown LA. We wound up spending the whole day there getting to know each other, talking about the wedding ceremony, the details, what it was going to entail.
Don't you just love when that happens?
It was great.
It just takes on a life of its own.
It really did. It really did. And from there, it was just a matter of just taking care of the formalities, taking care of the paperwork, going through the process of getting the proper travel arrangements done, the airfare, everything, and bringing it all together. And one of the things that I'm really excited about was that because I know how to watch the timing for traveling internationally and domestically with flights, and kind of when to really, attack the time to look for a flight and get the right price, I was able to save them roughly about $600 on my airfare to get to India. So with that money that they saved, they're actually now flying me to Atlanta this weekend to be able to photograph the Mehendi and Sangeet. So that's pretty cool. That's a really cool thing to be able to help them with. Mm-hmm.
Somebody, when you actually can save your bride and groom some money with what a wedding costs nowadays, with everything involved. So that is pretty much a step up. That's a +1 in the fact that, okay, they appreciate the fact that you're forward thinking and you're not just there to actually sit, okay, pay my ticket, fly me there, and then I'll shoot your weddings. You're actually being more than a photographer. You're actually being kind of a wedding planner with them. You're part of the organization. You're not just there to admire. That's pretty forward thinking. That's pretty cool.
I do my best to be like that. I really want to be as much of a resource for my clients as possible. I don't want to be just the guy that shows up on the wedding day with a camera. Hello, let me take your picture, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's your photos. Have a nice life. Bye. I don't want to be that kind of a photographer. I want to basically deliver the over-the-top experience for them, to where the timing leading up to the actual wedding day is just as much of an awesome experience as the wedding day itself, and then the time after the wedding day, I want that to be as positive and helpful for them as possible. And it really makes a big difference because the relationship is there, and then it trickles down to the family and friends. They can see that I'm not just that Joe Schmo coming up with a camera and trying to take pictures. They see the relationship is there, and then people are a lot more apt to want to have their photograph taken. It's really cool.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of difference, because if I can only go back to my own experience with my own wedding photographer, and this sounds totally stupid, but for me it's something that stood out. The fact that when we're doing the family portraits, and again, a lot of the men, you have no idea how many grooms don't know how to put on their boutonniere, and it was so crazy how he just puts down his camera, and then he went for my brother, for my dad, is like he just took it. It's like, nope, it's wrong, it's crooked. Like, let me do this. Like, I want you to look good for your report. And he just went on and like basically pinned every single guy. It was like, and you think about it, it's like he didn't have to. He could just like, I'm just here to take photos. But no, I want you. This is your day, and I want you to feel at your best, and I want you to look your best in your own photos. And it makes a lot of sense. That forward thinking, being available for your client, not just there to take pictures. So that's very admirable. That's very admirable. But in terms of organization and planning, so I'm just asking. So Shriradha and David, are they California residents, or are they living in India?
They're currently in Atlanta.
They're currently in Atlanta. They're currently in Atlanta. So okay, because in terms of organization and planning, because for you, just basically talking for you, there's got to be a lot of planning involved, not just buying the ticket.
Right. There's the visa. I've got to make sure my passport is in order. I've got to make sure that I'm also healthy and that I've got all the necessary vitamins in my system. I've got all my gear ready to go, the necessary insurance, and just going with that right frame of mind to make sure that I'm as prepared as possible, just like a Boy Scout. But then on top of that, I want to go and make sure that I'm as prepared as possible for the culture. So I've been doing quite a bit of research in terms of what is necessary for that particular celebration, what's the culture like in their city, what should I expect, the attire. I'm really excited because Shriradha is going to take me shopping before the wedding so I can have the proper attire for the 3-day celebration. And I'm looking forward to that. The more that I can become a part of their day, the more incredible the photos are going to be, the more of an awesome experience that they're going to be having with me, and the same thing with the family and the friends. And that's so important to me at the end of the day. I really want to make sure that in fact, I even shared something similar to this earlier today. Where's this at on my iPhone? If anybody's following me on Twitter and Facebook, then they would have seen me share this on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and pretty much everything else. But I had shared a thought that I had when I was preparing my gear this afternoon for the trip. And yeah, this is it right here. I said, if you don't deliver the same memorable experience with your clients as the rock band Kiss does with their fans, you shouldn't charge.
You shouldn't charge.
It's really blunt. It's very much a reality-based thought process. But if you watch any Kiss concert on YouTube or videos or anything like that, they've got what they call the Kiss Army. And their fans are loyal. They're dedicated. They really are a part of it.
Kiss fans are done. It's almost a cult. Kiss fans are the pinnacle of fans in the rock.
They really are. They really are. And I want to do as much as possible as an individual, as an entrepreneur, a photographer, and a filmmaker for my clients, and deliver that same type of an experience. So in a way, it's like theater for me when I'm shooting for my clients. It's not just me showing up with the camera. I'm having a great time. And I want them to have the same experience as well. So making sure that I've prepared as much as possible on my end for my clients and for their family and friends in India to fit in. I want it to be as much of like a hand-in-glove situation for the event and for the experience. And it really will make a big difference in the long run.
You want it to be memorable for them because it is their day, and hopefully the only time they'll have to go through this. But so for something as elaborate as an Indian wedding, because you see those shows constantly on either on TLC or Slice, and just like say yes to the dress and everything. There's for you probably it's probably part of, again, it's an immersive experience because again it's a culture thing and you don't want to offend. Do you have any particular anecdotes, like in your research, anything you want to share with us, like interesting discoveries you made about the culture and what to do, what not to do, or things that are expected of you as an attendant? What can you share with that for us?
The biggest thing that I've noticed is the level of respect that people have for one another, and that the vendors should have for the family, the vendors should have for the friends and for other vendors during the entire time that you're there. So I'm already at that point where I'm delivering that type of an experience, but it's just like any other culture. In order to have the best experience, you have to adapt as much as possible, and you have to be as learned as much as possible in that particular environment and what to expect. And that has been probably one of the biggest eye-opening experiences, and along with how dialed in India is as a country. I have to actually have a visa to go to India. It's not just I can just get my passport and go buy an airline ticket and fly down there.
Get up and go.
It's not like going to Europe. You actually have to be approved to enter into their country. And it's really cool to see that they take travel and they take tourism that seriously, and I'm really impressed with that. And it's just added that much more of an experience for me to know, okay, this is pretty legit and it's pretty serious, and I want to make sure that I meet at that level for them and for their family.
I want to talk about something very sensitive because I got this question. I got this question from a buddy of mine on Facebook. Because again, he was just asking a question. What if, God forbid, something happens and the plane doesn't go or the flight? What are your provisos or provisions in terms of, again, you don't want it to happen, but
right,
these things do happen. Like, what would be the course of action for a photographer in that situation? Because again, you don't control the airline, you don't control the weather. You don't control act of God, as they're called.
Correct.
It's pretty insane. Like, how do you face that? How do you deal with that?
Fortunately, I know many people that haven't had to deal with that, and I'm in the same boat. I don't want to have to run into that, but we also do as much as we can to take the precautions necessary to avoid the most common, which is weather. And I like to fly anywhere from a day to 2 days in advance, or excuse me, I like to fly and then have a day to 2 days in advance prior to the actual event. So if something happens with the airplane and they're running a little bit late, or if there is a snowstorm like we had last week here in America, where it just pretty much obliterated everything on the East Coast, it's like, that's the thing that I've got to keep in mind. And I do my best to express that to my clients, to where it's not just, I'm not going there just for the one day. I need to make sure that I've got the allotted amount of time set aside to travel. I've got to make sure that I have the allotted amount of time set aside for recouping from that travel and adjusting to the time difference, because going just from the West Coast to the East Coast here in the States, that's a big time difference. Going from the West Coast here in California to Europe is a big time difference. I'm going to the other side of the planet. And
Crazy.
I've got to make sure that I've got a nice cushion of time to where I'm rested, I'm refreshed, I can be on my A game for my client. And it's all in the planning. It's all in doing the homework. I can't stress that enough to anybody that's thinking about doing any photography for a career or for recreation or a hobby and taking it on the road. There's a lot to it with that.
Okay, because it makes it a good parallel. So you talk about jet lag, you talk about time difference. A great parallel. When my wife and I took a vacation in Paris, from Montreal time, we left at midnight Eastern time, and we ended up in Paris time, which is 6 hours forward. So we actually ended up, it's 6 a.m. Basically, we ended up at noon-ish. We left at midnight in Montreal, and we ended up in Paris in lunchtime. Do you think we were tired? Pretty tired. It's crazy. Yes. You pretty much think that, okay, we're in your part of the world, people are sleeping, but in this part of the world, people are having lunch. It is crazy. So you really have to think about the physical strain it's going to put on you, because your body does respond to time. It just does. You have no idea why, but it just does, because you have been up for 12 hours. While I was doing that parallel, it's funny, but how do you avoid? Because this is what happened when my wife and I went to the Louvre. And the thing is, I'm in photo mode, but at the same time, I'm in Paris. So I'm also I have to understand I'm in Paris, and I might not come back here. So I might as well record this and experience this. And my wife was just like frowning the whole time, because I'm clicking because you're in Paris. Like, what do you want me to do? But you are there to cover a wedding. You have been hired to cover this event. So how do you set aside the entire, tourist versus the photographer mode?
I don't. I just go just the same as when I went to Costa Rica in December of 2012 for Denise and Miguel's wedding. I flew down there, and I was there for a week and photographed basically the entire week. I had 3 hours of off time the day after the wedding, and I spent it with family. We went into downtown, did a little bit of sightseeing, and just did a little bit of shopping, things like that. But I'm there for the client. So to me, excuse me, unless I have extra time afterwards, after it's all said and done, and then it's on my time, then I go ahead and I'll do that. But other than that, it's all about being there for the client. It's all about making sure that I'm documenting the entire experience for them. No different when I went to Germany in June for Christine and Christoph's wedding. Literally got off the plane, they picked me up, camera's out, it's in hand, I'm ready to go. And it's just a matter of just documenting the entire experience with them. It's kind of like a day in the life of, for me, for them. And it's great, the amount of memories that you can capture like that. To turn off and to be a tourist, I don't know. I live my life with my face behind the camera, basically, so it's hard to like kind of separate the two. It's like it's kind of symbiotic.
It is. It is. It's a part of you. It's a part of you. And again, because I guess that's the difference between the mentality between a hobbyist and quote unquote professional. Because basically, when you live through your photography, and your photography is that organically part of you and who you are. So like there's no really separating it, because even when the camera's not in your hand, you learn to see the world photographically speaking. You look at lines, you look at colors, you analyze, you're influenced, and you're like, I would shoot. This is interesting, and so your brain never starts ticking like that. It's a great motivation, but it's pretty insane. But in terms of cargo and gear, we talked about health. We talked about legal provisions. But in terms of gear, are you carrying a lot, would you say? Or is it one backpack? Or is it a lot of gear? It's like, because again, you have to have backups, because again, you want to be prepared. It's like in terms of making sure that you have the right arsenal. How would you say that, how would you recommend people travel internationally?
Have backup of everything is the first rule of thumb. And for example, when I went to Germany, when I traveled there, I took my backpack with me. I have a think tank. Excuse me. My voice is still kind of. So if you watched the last episode, I barely had a voice. It's getting there. Sorry if I have a little froggy here and there.
Take it from me, everybody. Compared to the last episode, David is rocking it. David is rocking it, and you're such a trooper for the last episode, because I know we really ran your voice silly, but God knows, again, that's the comments we got as well, is the fact that, my God, he took part of his own physical state, actually sat there and actually did the interview, so it was just crazy. That was a blast. It was a real blast. So don't worry about it. So this time you're rocking. Don't worry.
Cool. Cool. But anyways, I want to add to the travel. There are different guidelines that you're allowed for your travel bags and for your gear bags, excuse me. And for me, I've chosen to go with a think tank travel backpack for international travel, because it meets all international flight requirements. It's smaller than the American one, but still big enough to put enough gear into it to where I can travel pretty much anywhere on the planet, and then know that my gear is safe, it's protected, it's secure, it's padded, it's really going to be well taken care of. And within that particular bag, then I'll have my primary body, my secondary body, my primary lenses that I like to use. For me, if anybody's gone out there and shot with me, they know that I'm usually rocking the Canon 28-300L, that big tank that's like this big, looks like the size of like a turkey leg.
That's a sweet lens.
Huge.
That's a sweet lens.
It's a great lens. I've got that. I've got my fisheye. I've got my 100mm macro that I'll take with me, and then I'll either take, depending on the situation, I'll take either the 16-35 or the 24-70 with me, and that's pretty much it. I don't want to take any of my primes with me, because I want to allow enough room in that particular bag for additional batteries, not only for the camera, but I also want to have additional batteries for my flashes. I want to have rechargeable AA's. I want to have non-rechargeable AA's. I want to have all my cords in there. The one thing that I will not check at all will be gear. I refuse. Oh, excuse me, no, I take it back. I check in my my tripod. That is the only thing that I'll put in my actual suitcase itself.
Tripod makes sense. Tripod makes sense.
But everything else. No, it all goes in the camera.
I have a death-defying fear of checking my photo gear. I did that once, and I spent the entire flight just sweating. I was sweating because I know that, again, not discrediting everybody, and travel, just like baggage carriers. Right now, I don't know. It's just like you pass your entire anxiety on the traveler's bags. It's crazy. Right. And of course, the TSA always likes to leave you that one nice little envelope and say, "Hey, we went through your stuff. Thank you. Thank you for traveling with us." But
that's
hey,
true.
I respect that.
I've got a collection of them.
Mm-hmm. I totally respect that. Again, after 9/11, a lot of things happened. So again, it's perfectly fine to keep the country safe. I totally get it. I'm traveling through your country, so go ahead, have at it. But ever since then, I'm like, you know what? I'll do whatever I can. Travel light, travel heavy. I will keep my gear on me at all times. I'd rather not have underwear for the next 2 weeks, but I will have my camera. It's really insane. Mm-hmm. Oh my God! But so you really bring up a good point. You have to have backup. You always have to have backup. You have to be ready for the unexpected, and that makes total sense. Because why would you travel this far and be caught in the mindset that, oh, okay, this body doesn't work, and I'm stuck without a body, and it's the day of.
Right.
What do I do? You have to have
Unless
that
you're prepared
answer.
to go shopping.
Yeah. Can you imagine? It's like,
Exactly.
oh, where can I get a 5D Mark III right now? I
Exactly.
wonder.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So for me, when I travel internationally, I take 2 camera bodies, 2 flashes, my lenses, and then everything else gets stuffed into that particular bag. Domestically, then I take a lot more. I'll take my 2 bodies with me, my 2 Canon bodies. I'll take a few more lenses with me. I'll throw everything into my Think Tank roller. I've got a great domestic roller that's got a cable that is attached to the inside of the body, the actual frame. So there's a cable that comes out of it, and it's fantastic. I love using it. I can put a lot more gear into it. And then on top of the Canon equipment I take with me, I take my Leica equipment with me, and then past that, then I take my Panasonic Micro Four Thirds equipment with me, and then past that, then I take all my mobile phones with me. So I want to be as prepared as
You're
possible.
loaded, Esquire, because you
Yes.
know that for every single situation, even if there's a tank rolling through it, you'll know that at least you'll be able to get those shots. Because
That's
again,
the main
the
thing.
client, I believe, in terms of organization and planning, for the few weddings that I've covered personally, I know that the client should not have to pay for your disorganization or your lack thereof. You
No,
have to be able to provide for your client in any given situation. Some
absolutely.
clients, they have no idea what they're doing. Listen, they cut you a check, they make the deposit, they expect you to deliver. And I'm not even talking about money, but we're going to bring back that word again. Service, quality, experience. You have to
Right.
be memorable for the right reasons. You have to
Hmm.
be able to deliver that experience where your client will sit there and like, you know what? I enjoyed what Olivia gave me. I really do. I really, really do. Because again, most clients are not going to go into your metadata once they get the photos.
They
They're
don't
mostly
care.
going to look at the photos and tell themselves, first of all, when did he have the time to take that photo? Or, God, that is so nice. The feeling that they get from seeing an image, because they don't understand. I'm sure you've experienced this, but I've gotten comments where you're like, they look at the photo and then they remember how they felt. Because on the day
Right.
of, they're not thinking about how they look or how they
Right.
felt or dancing. They're in the moment. But when they relive it, and when you sit down with the bride and groom and the album and the web gallery, and they're singing out like, wow. And they live it again, and they do get emotional, and that's the satisfaction I get out of it. It's something that is so heartwarming and makes all that planning and all that coordination and all that excitement worthwhile when your client
Yes.
is that satisfied and just sends you a little note or a tweet or a reference and just says thank you.
Yes, it makes all the big difference in the world. It truly does. And it's interesting the adjectives that you were using to describe what we should be doing for our clients. Because for me, my last name is Esquire. When I sign things with my initials, it's always ESQ. And in my mind, I think to myself, okay, ESQ, exceptional service and quality. That's basically my goal
Whoa,
every time. Every time that
mind
I go out with my client.
blown.
That's exactly what I aim for every time, and the crazy thing is that I expect that as well as a consumer. So I feel okay expecting it, but I also know that I want to deliver it. And I really encourage everybody that's out there that wants to take on photography and they want to collect money for it, regardless if they're going to be shooting, as a domestic or an international photographer. Make sure that they aim for that particular experience for their clients, and they'll have longevity. There's a reason why bands like the Rolling Stones, there's a reason why rock artists like Billy Idol, bands like Kiss, and many, many more, Duran Duran even. There's a reason why these bands have longevity, because they deliver an exceptional experience, an exceptional product, an exceptional level of quality that is unsurpassed in their particular genre. And I really want everybody else that's out there to take what they're doing for their client that seriously. And the more that they do, then the longevity will be there, and they'll have more appreciation for what they're doing internally, but then so will the clients. And it all goes hand in hand. It's really neat. I get great joy out of receiving emails from my clients, and then I get great joy out of the big hug from the dad, the big hug from mom, the grandparents, things like that. That all adds up. And that is worth its weight in gold. The
It
paycheck is
is.
part of our job, but that reward of the gratification of people really
You can't
appreciating what we're
quantify that.
bringing,
You can't quantify
it's
that. When
awesome.
you walk away and then you basically turn off the camera and you realize, oh, okay, I've covered everything, and
Hmm.
you think, okay, it's your time to actually check out, and you know that, okay, the day is done. But when you're walking away and somebody grabs you by the arm, whether it's the mom, like you said, for me it was the mom that sat down, like, okay, I didn't have time to talk to you throughout the evening. I'm sorry, but I just wanted you to know we really appreciate you being here and you really delivered. And again, you're here and you're telling yourself, this is what did you expect me to do? I'm here for you. This is
Right.
I'm committed to you at this moment in time. I am here for you. So excellence is what you should expect from me, and that's in all facets. In all facets, but it makes a good segue because again, all about making the plurality of your services. Because again, we go from being a local photographer to international wedding photographer, and then it's the way you branch out, David. Because what I enjoy about you is the fact that you're very forward-thinking and you're an early adopter and promoter of the new technologies, whether it's as a glass explorer. But I really want to touch on this because with the time we have left, we don't want to segue this in with the Instagram weddings because it's the more I talk about it, the more I thought about it, and I have to tell myself, this is a forward-thinking venture. It's a forward-thinking initiative because I'm not saying that you don't hear it, but it's the fact that you would offer this, okay, I offer this. Like, in terms of what was the thought process behind that? Because I'm really curious to see, like, where did you went and where it stemmed from.
Absolutely. Just basically doing the math, thinking about photography as a whole. I've been in the industry more than 30 years, and I've seen the progression go from large format to medium format, 35 millimeter, which is what I started in. But when I started in 35 millimeter, there was still a truckload, just a boatload of people shooting large format and medium format, and 35 millimeter was getting looked down upon like people that shoot events with iPhones, journalists shooting events with iPhones. There's no reason in the world why it can't be done. And a couple of years ago, when I created the program Picture Me, Picture You, which is shot entirely on mobile phones, from the photos to the video. Correct. Then it was the Nokia PureView 808s. So here's one of them right here with the cover on it. And it's a 41 megapixel sensor on the camera. It's great. It's absolutely phenomenal.
You got a lot of power in that little beast.
Yes. It's their flagship phone that basically wrapped up the entire program that they were running on Symbian at the time. And I loved it. And when I took that particular camera on the road and I went to, I think, 7 different cities in Germany, and along with Germany, I also went to Switzerland and shot all over the place with those things. And the quality was phenomenal. When I was using my backup, I had the older one, which is the Nokia N8. And this particular rig is phenomenal. Hey, look, you can see the reflection. Hello! Infinity reflection. The N8's got a 12 megapixel sensor on it with a Carl Zeiss lens, and the pictures were razor sharp. I literally, when I went on one of my trips to shoot in Europe, I never broke out my Leica equipment at all. I had it with me, but I never used it. I only used my Nokia N8. And at that point, that's when I realized there's definitely a shift right now. There's a huge paradigm shift in what's getting ready to happen.
When you realize that you do not have the reflex to actually reach out for your DSLR, and when again we're going back to the iPhone and mobile photography in itself. When you do not have the reflex to actually rely on your DSLR body, but still remain photographically creative with this one little piece of technology in your hand. You realize the paradigm shift. You realize that, okay, this photography does not have to rely solely on this big, monolithic, outdated technology. Because, again, DSLR technology is the same it's been for the past, 60, 70 years. It's still a mirror going up and down, opening up some light, burning images on a sensor, closing it up. It's the same thing. So understand that, again, progression has to happen because you cannot always be carrying this big Hulk body all the time.
No, I would love to be able to drag along my Canons, but there's just no way. The reality is it's just not a realistic concept anymore, especially since, like, my latest rig that I'm using right now is the Nokia Lumia 1020, and that also has a 41 megapixel sensor, but it has better software, it's a better interface, it's Windows, but I mean, I'm not a Windows fanboy, I'm not an Apple fanboy either, but it's the interface, the OS, and the ecosystem on it, it's okay, but the camera itself rocks.
If it works for you, why not use it? If it works for you.
Exactly. So the more that I thought about the progression of things when I was shooting Picture Me, Picture You all around the world, and basically that particular program was created to help educate other photographers on using the best camera with them, which is typically the one that's in their pocket and it's their cell phone.
Chase Jarvis said that.
Yes, exactly. And I love the fact that he said that. That was groundbreaking, and it really freaked a lot of people out.
It was a revelation. It was a real revelation.
It really was. And so the whole intent with that program was to do that. And the better that the technology continues to get and the trends that I'm seeing, why not offer it? There are clients that are out there. My average turnaround time is exponentially faster when I'm shooting events. And I have clients literally in the past that have asked me 12 hours after the wedding date. So when are my pictures ready? Yeah, where are the photos? So why not offer this? And what's nice is that it's a lot less impactful for children. It's a lot less impactful for babies. I did a portrait session down in San Diego for some clients of mine, and their daughter, a little more intimidated with my camera equipment, but I broke out my iPhone and she just lit up like a Christmas tree.
And she's fine with it. Because it's part of her immediate environment. Because again, who has never met an iPhone? Because if you go to the Apple Store, this also is mind blowing. If you go to an Apple Store, the way they have the layouts on the shelves and you have the iPads just readily available, have you noticed that kids don't really need a tutorial to know how to use it? My daughter, who's 10 months old, you put the iPad in front of her and she sees Barney. She knows how to open Netflix. She'll tap on it. She'll play with it. Because again, the apps are out there. Technology is out there. There's no learning curve to actually learning how to use this touch interface and this mobile platform that is either your phone or a tablet or whatever you want to call it. This is where we're shifting. There will be a point where the technology will become so where such a thing as a mouse or a keyboard will be something where people are going to ask you, you actually used to drag an arrow on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
Why exactly? I fail to understand how that works. Because, again, we are in a paradigm shift. Technology has its place. Technology, again, has a role to play in the betterment and empowerment of our society. I love that CES, just totally random, but if you guys have not seen it, I'll probably go to David's page, and he had this sharing the most ridiculous promotional article I've seen for CES, which is basically this headband where you're supposed to, that sends a notification to your phone when your kid is swimming.
Yes.
I don't understand that one. I don't even want to talk about it because that enrages me as a new father, because I'm actually supposed to rely on a bracelet for my kid in a pool to tell me if my kid is underwater.
If your kid is drowning.
My kid is drowning. And I'm supposed to get a notification on my phone to let me know that my kid is drowning. Pretty crazy. See, technology has its place, but that is not the place. I don't think so.
Correct.
I'm sorry, it was a random segue. I apologize.
No, I love the fact that technology is starting to really, truly meet the creative mind, and it's meeting the demands. It's just a matter of the professionals that want to roll with the technology. It's the professionals that want to adapt to these new demands. They are hyper fast. They are extremely demanding, and the time frames are non-existent now. There basically shouldn't be any reason why a photographer that is getting their photo done correctly, whether it be in a DSLR or in a mobile phone, there shouldn't be any reason why it can't be instantly delivered when the client is done. When you're done shooting the wedding, the event, the fashion shoot, whatever it is, there's no reason why it can't be done. And I'm looking around internationally, and I'm seeing a lot of companies embracing the technology that Nokia has, embracing the technology that Apple is delivering, and using it for commercial work. And I've been using it for commercial work, and that's why I wanted to go public with the Instagram weddings, primarily letting people know, hey, if we want to add the Instagram effects to the photos, we can. If you want to have the photos instantly delivered that night after the wedding, great, we can do that too. I can just toss it up there. I mean, it's like I can come in here with my Windows phone, fire it up on the Wi-Fi, and everything is uploaded to my SkyDrive. And so here you go. Everything's ready to go. Everything go right to Dropbox. There's no reason why we can't have that instant experience for our clients. And so I wanted to meet those demands, and it's happening globally. It isn't happening yet too much here in the States. And I understand the reason why is because it's, look at the infatuation that everybody has with cars here in the States. The bigger, the better. Same thing with gear. There's that whole gear thing. It's like, wow, that's a really big camera you have. Must be taking great pictures. It's like, yeah, it does. And now it's like, I break out my cell phone. Oh, you're going to shoot
any commercial shoot, on an editorial shoot, you walk up to the set, you walk up to the creative director, and basically you're walking in with, I don't know, with the small little Nokia thingy, and this is what I'm going to shoot your project with, your $10,000 budget publicity shoot. But at the same time, they expect you to show up with expensive gear. So the same thing goes for Mr. Joe Schmo client, who's just like, you're going to shoot with that. There's that expectation of like, okay, so if I'm paying for a wedding, you know, Dennis Reggie budget, I'm expecting you to show up with the whole kit and caboodle and like 50,000 assistants and Mr. Big Shot photographer. But we're shifting that right now. We're shifting that, and it's very important for clients to understand that in the realm of Instagram, in the realm of Twitter, where everything is instantaneous, why should I have to wait 3 months for my photo images? And Correct. I'm going to throw it out there because you and I both know this. It's all about the quality of your work. If you cannot, again, they always tell you, okay, you never get all your shots, and again, never get all your masters and everything, because you have, of course, there is that curation that has to happen, obviously, but you're not going to give away the bride with the broccoli in her teeth, obviously not. But what's going to happen is the fact that is it a cop-out? I'm thinking that it probably is, because why would I give you that in under 12 hours? But like you said, I've experienced concerts myself where the creative director asking me, okay, you have 24 hours to hand me those images because I need to publish them like now so people can experience the event. You can't talk about an event a week later. It doesn't make sense. If you were there last night, chances are I'm giving you 12 hours, hand me those images, make it happen. Correct. So why would weddings be any different? So because your bride and groom are your creative director, they are your publisher, they are the people, again, who have the right to ask whatever they want because, again, they sort of paid for it, so they get to say whatever they want, and you should not be making excuses as to how or why you would not be able to deliver. So I understand that it's a leap of faith in the industry and how we choose to go about, you know, the method and process of delivering from capturing the event to delivering our images. But at the same time, it's up to us to educate the client and educate ourselves and be open enough to adopt these new technologies and, you know, just in a forward-thinking mindset the same way you're doing and allow ourselves to know, like, you know what, the DSLR is on its way out. Of course.
Oh, it is, without a doubt.
It is on its way out. It is on its way out. It's as sad as it's to say. I used to joke around, well, you know, I can't cover, like, you know, a safari and, like, you know, capture a rhinoceros, like, 5 miles away with my iPhone. I need the gear for it. Scott Bourne, who does, I'm sure you know, does the fantastic eagle photography in Alaska. You have to have the gear for it. But we're shifting. I'm not shooting eagles in Alaska. I'm shooting a wedding. I'm shooting a concert.
There's a time and place for the gear.
There's a time and place for the gear.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the benefits, though. Think about it. That's one of the benefits that we have right now in traveling is that when I'm traveling, I can take a lot of gear with me, but the reality is I don't need to anymore. So it's a lot less strain and a lot less hassle for me. On that other token, the less gear that I could have or the smaller, more compact gear that I can travel with, the more in and out that I can get into places. I don't have to worry about running into situations like here in the States. It's extraordinarily difficult to go shooting and capture portraits or whatever it might be, especially in Orange County. You can't even have a building in the background because it's copyrighted. So you have to be careful of. Oh gosh, yeah, I've been kicked off so many properties. But I can go to, Paris, and I can go shoot the Louvre. I can go shoot the Eiffel Tower and
Paris,
do whatever I want.
They really don't care because Paris is a site in itself. You could actually not set foot in a single museum or national monument, and you would still have a kick-ass time.
Oh, absolutely.
Paris, they're so open-minded in Paris.
Absolutely.
But and Orange County, really, like California's that gung-ho.
It's very. Yeah, I like to educate my clients as well before we go out and let them know that we could potentially run into these situations. Don't be alarmed. I know how to deal with it. If we run into it, we'll just deal with it as it is, and we'll be like, okay, no problem, and we'll leave. It's no big deal, and just approach it like that. But I do like to educate my clients, letting them know that that is a possibility. But with the technology getting smaller and the micro-technology getting better, you know, the fact that I could take this phone, the Nokia 1020, the Lumia 1020, and I can go out and shoot poster-sized photos with this for portraits, buildings, landscapes, you name it. I can use the camera case that's on it and mount a tripod to the bottom of it and get the stability there. It's got full control. They've got what they call the Pro Camera app, where you have white balance, you have everything imaginable that you can do on your DSLR on a mobile phone now.
On a mobile phone.
Exactly. So, you know, just like my experience was when I first adapted to the Micro Four Thirds, and I was so excited when that came out. I knew Panasonic was onto something back then, and I did several commercial shoots and very public, very open environments that are very closed in terms of not being allowed to shoot in them, but because I had this little dinky little camera that nobody had ever seen before, I looked like a tourist. I didn't look, yeah. So the fact that I can now go out with mobile phones and do that, that reminds me, one of the portrait shoots that I did was with a mobile phone a couple of years ago with one of the 808s, or excuse me, about a year ago, with one of the 808s. I was in downtown LA. Security came by, said, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm just taking some pictures with my friend, of my friends with my mobile phone." "Oh, okay. Because if you were a professional, we would have had to have stopped you." Like, okay.
The quintessential scenario.
That's what people should embrace.
That's what people should embrace. That's
Yeah.
what people should embrace, because I'm not going to hide it, and you know it as well as I do. The second you show up with that big, bulky camera, they see that black casing and they see that long-ass lens, and a lot of people, they just come up to you like, "Sir, you can't shoot here. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to put away the camera. Put away the camera."
Right.
Again, and this goes back to that debacle that photographer Thomas Hawk, the 1 million images on Flickr.
I love it.
When he had this adventure at the SF MoMA, where I believe a security personnel person came up to him, and there was a big issue because they told him you can't shoot here, and he went public. And again, there goes back to the mentality of some people feel threatened. And again, the public might not be educated, but because phones and mobile phones, and on a street photography perspective, when you're sitting either on the subway or on the street, and you just pull out your phone, nobody cares. Nobody thinks twice, because we all do it. We all do it. But DSLR is still that staple of like professional photographer, just just tripod and gear, and you're gonna use me to be. You need my permission. You need my model release to be in a magazine and everything. These uncomfortable circumstances that could not happen, but like you, when those things happen, you know what? It's a better policy for your sanity and your reputation, because you want to be an asset. You don't want to be an ass. You just always want to be that person. People are going to remember you. They better be for the right reasons. If somebody walks up to me and tells, because it's happened, I've been in the street, somebody told me, "I'm sorry, sir, did you just take my photo?" Because just in case, "No, I'm sorry, ma'am. If you were in the photo, I'm more than happy to delete it," and you just walk away. So it's not supposed to be an issue. So mobile photography has helped us in that sense, where it's made us more accessible, and it's broken down that barrier of resistance, where the person or the subject just feels too uncomfortable. Because again, lo and behold, some people just don't want to be in a photo, and it's perfectly fine.
Absolutely, and that's something that other photographers should truly expect. If they don't expect it, they really need to start expecting it immediately. And just like with Google Glass, there's the whole stigma, "Oh, you're photographing and filming 24/7. It's like, no, I'm really not. It's just like your cell phone, it's turned off. But if I wake it up, it's like, then you'll see that I'm actually recording something, things like 100%. That. It's just not a mainstream product just yet, but it's coming there. It's getting there. Like you said, the barriers are breaking. I love the fact that that's happening, and I really hope that more people embrace the newer technology, embrace the fact that they need to adapt, because the photographers no longer basically call the shots in terms of how the industry is running, and it's over. That game is over. That was starting to end 10 years ago. It's not even in existence. The client calls the shots, and the client is going to demand what they want, when they want it, how fast they want it. And when it comes to traveling, you better be prepared to really over-deliver on that experience, because if they're willing to pay for a photographer to go somewhere, whether it be another city, another town, another state, country, the other side of the planet, whatever it might be, the expectations on the photographer are significantly higher. They're far more increased than just shooting locally in your hometown. Be prepared for it.
Makes perfect sense, because the client is entitled to have those expectations, because again, like you said, it's not even about the money, it's about the experience. Like, they trust you, because chances are, if they hired you, and you know this as well as I do, money is the last argument at the end of the conversation. They always want to know who you are, what you do, how you do it, and how can I benefit from that? How can I get that experience? And if you can't deliver on that, like you said, you shouldn't charge. And again, just fine-tune your craft, fine-tune your skills, and get on that train of trying to provide that expectation of excellence. You have to be on your game constantly. It's not even about how many contracts you can sign, how many gigs you get within a year. Every time I get the opportunity to provide that service on a professional perspective for any client, whether it's a bride, whether it's a baby coverage, whether it's an event, whether it's a band, If you called on me, chances are you already know who I am. You don't need to see my website. You know where it is. I'm pretty public. If you just Google me, I'm there. So chances are you've seen my work. You've seen how I do. You've seen how I communicate. Because for me, it's not even a shtick. It's not even a barrier. Anybody who knows me knows this is exactly who I am, and this is who I want to offer. When I step in and we sit down, it's not a discovery. Chances are you already know who I am. So by that time, you know what I'm going to give you. So I better not be a fake. I better not be a hypocrite, and I have to set whatever dark cloud is, weighing me down just there, because again, it's not the client's problem. The client is here to be served in the best and most efficient, professional way possible, and walk away with the satisfaction that you delivered your A game.
Absolutely, absolutely. I shared something very similar to that the other day about that, where if people aren't basically shooting as good with their camera like Steve Stevens does, the guitarist with Billy Idol.
Oh, I love that quote. I really did.
That was, when I thought of that, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to share that, because it's true. It's absolutely true. If a photographer is going to charge, they have to be that good. If they're not that good, they need to get that good before they start charging. There's no reason in the world, because just pushing a button doesn't cut it. It really doesn't. It's made it a lot easier
Certainly.
with today's technology, but you still got to get it right in the camera. And it breaks my heart to see so many forums with so many photographers that, oh, my hard drive crashed, or oh, my camera didn't work, or oh, all my photos were just out of focus. And wow, I really hope that a lot more people realize that it's more than just a camera, because just because I can buy a flute doesn't mean I'm a professional flutist.
There you go.
So I really hope that a lot more people pay attention to that.
You should consider that, because, again, there are certain things, certainly in this day and age, certainly should not be happening. You have hard drive failures, bodies, SD cards, things failing. That is the mechanics. But if you are a professional, chances are you'd have thought about that first and foremost. There are certain things when you go on assignment. When you go on assignment, you have to be in the zone. It's not when you get there. It's like, do I have the second flash? Like, why is my flash firing? Oh, wow, I better stop down. Oh, Wi-Fi. Oh, white balance, not good. No. You have to be in the moment, and it's not the time to be thinking about technicalities. Photoshop is a tool. It's not a verb.
I say that all the time.
It's important. It's important to think about where you're going and how you want to promote yourself, because, again, we're not trying to be patronizing, and again, we aim to inspire and educate, because every single day is a learning process, and you have to be able to allow yourself both the time and patience to get better. But at the same time, you have to have the will to be better and within yourself, because when you're not in the zone, it's going to show through your images. I personally, I know that personally. When you're not in the zone, you actually look at your images in the post process, and you're like, what? No, I really wasn't feeling it. Like, you know when you're not there. So again, don't make your client the victim of that process. Know what you want, know what you can deliver, and like you said, don't charge. Your time has value, obviously. But again, if you're going to charge someone, it better be worth it, and you have to be clear about what the client wants, and you have to give them that. Don't make it half-assed. Do not make it half-assed. Nothing. If you're going to charge someone for it, it better be the best work that you can possibly deliver, and the next time, and the next time, and the next time. It's never a one-stop process. We're all about bettering ourselves each and every day.
And basically, the hardest thing that it is for today's photographer is to be honest, not only with themselves, but with each other. And if anybody knows me on the social media platforms, they know that I'm the first person to call it like it is. And that's one of the things that I love about our conversations, is that we could basically speak the truth. We're here to inspire, we're here to educate, but I really encourage other photographers and other artists to be honest with themselves and be honest with each other, because if you're not, the term that I like to use is you're just doing nothing more than short stroking your own ego and your colleagues' egos. And if you don't like it, then you're part of the problem.
Makes perfect sense. We don't want to be. You don't want to be that one person. And as how can I explain this? Basically, you don't want to be caught with your pants down, because you could be boasting and blasting, and like I said, I love this little term called horning your crap instead of honing your craft. And you have to be able to be truly honest with yourself. Like, this is what, again, whether it's the type of work that you provide or do, it's like, I know that I appreciate landscape photography, but I'm not going to call myself a landscape photographer, because it's just not part of my portfolio. It's just not part of what I do. I can go out to the local park and shoot a tree, but I'm not going to travel to the end of the, I don't know, Cook Islands and go photograph that wave that's going to hit the reef at just one precise moment. That is just not what I do. It's not what I do. And again, you have to be honest with yourself. So give part of your knowledge and time and training to stuff and people that you actually care about. And as this is a funny one, and I'm not sure if that makes sense. And I honestly, one time, had to turn down a client because we honestly weren't vibing. We were not vibing, and what they were expecting from me, and when I knew I could deliver, and I told them very honestly, I respect the fact that you appreciate my work, and for all the reasons, it was a very honest conversation, and again, I walked away from it, and I always encourage a lot of people to be honest with yourself and never apologize for being who you are, because your integrity has tremendous value, and again, you should not be providing a service to somebody that you know that the collaboration or the experience is not going to be top notch. So what happened, basically, I ended up referring them to a colleague of mine, to part of my network, and it was a great experience, and they thanked me for it. And because, again, you have to be able to know the fact what you can do and what you can't, and that's part of delivering good service.
Absolutely, it truly is. And to also go with that, you should know what your other colleagues can do. We have to keep up with each other's work and really pay attention to what's going on. For me, I tend to watch a few of my colleagues here in Southern California. As I shared with you the other day, I love the work that's coming out of Russia right now. But I tend to set myself considerably higher in terms of my sights, so I follow the likes of Annie Leibovitz and a lot of photographers like that. Karl Lagerfeld, the designer and photographer. Love his work, absolutely love it. I love just the eye that he has. He's just so structured in his work. Annie Leibovitz has the same thing, but then she has other aspects and other ingredients that go into it. So I really encourage other people that are out there shooting to start looking at other photographers' work, get out of the bubble that they're in.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. You can only learn from your peers, and of course only those who came before you. Annie Leibovitz is a tremendous reference. Karl Wolf, you have Avedon. I love Avedon's work in terms of portraiture.
Yes.
I mean, it's always been an inspiration. And again, I keep telling a lot of people that, and again, you don't even have to go to the pioneers. Again, you should always learn up where you came from to actually know where you are and how far you're going, where you're willing to take your photography. But at the same time, as simple as it is, and I've said this, it's okay. You're not Ansel Adams, and it's okay. It's okay.
Right.
You're not going to spend 30 years in a park, just filming. And again, I'm not disrespecting Ansel Adams' work, but
that was his goal, and that may not be there.
That was his goal, and nobody else could shoot those landscapes in that tone, in that sense, and with that quality and excellence that has become a reference for any type of photographer. But again, you talk about photography, talk about, well, Ansel Adams did this, but I'm sorry, I'm not influenced by Ansel Adams at all.
Right.
I talked about Avedon. For me, that is a reference. You talked about Leibovitz, and that's all the best to you. And again, a lot of people admire photographers we probably never heard of. And that's so cool because we learn to experience and know other people. You talk about Russia. I know a photographer down in Puerto Rico where I enjoy his work, food photography. Because I have a friend of mine who just graduated as a food photographer, as we just got out of photo school. But her shtick right now is to promote herself as a bona fide food photographer. So I've just out of curiosity, and I'm looking around, like there's a lot of terrific food photography out there. Is it my thing? Not really. I'm curious. But at the same time, you have to have your various influences wherever they may be. So again, you're not Ansel Adams, and it's perfectly okay. It's
absolutely, absolutely,
most
definitely.
Most definitely. Well, we're heading up to the hour mark. We're officially gonna have to cut it short. Ding. Well, we said we promised to keep it concise. I think this was a pretty interesting show, pretty great discussion. I'm not sure if you want to leave the viewers or the listeners with some parting words, David, about either photography or inspiration or whatsoever. It's your forum. Come on, let's talk.
Oh my gosh! My biggest thing with other photographers, be honest. Learn your craft, master it, and be honest with yourself. That is going to be the biggest benefit that you're going to give yourself and your clients. If you have questions about anything, feel free to contact me. I'm all over social media. In fact, I'm all over social media so much that when I have a consultation with my client, whether it be for a portrait, for a film, for a wedding, it doesn't matter, I don't take any materials with me anymore. It literally is non-existent. I don't take any albums with me to my weddings. I don't take anything. My clients by that point have seen enough of me all over social media, all over my website. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm more than happy to answer. There are 2 basic rules to success. The first rule is to never give out all of your tips and tricks and all of your ingredients to success. So that's the first rule. And yeah, I'm waiting for you guys that are going to be watching and listening to try and figure out what the second rule is, and that goes with C number 1. I'm not going to give you everything. I'll get your point in the right direction. So I'll help you get the knowledge base that you need, and I'll be more than happy to answer questions in terms of travel photography and really making your life a lot easier. Health is a big part of it. It really, truly is, and the healthier that you can be, the more physical. I don't want to say in shape you can be, but just the more that you're able to adapt to your environments, that'll make a big difference. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to let me know, and especially with gear, when it comes down to like travel documents, how to deal with things, knowing whether or not you need permits, all of that. I'm more than happy to answer the questions for you guys out there.
Because it does vary from place to place depending on where you're going.
City to city, country to country. Like you were just surprised about how closed and how just really shut down Orange County is as a city, and it's disappointing to say, but it really is true. There are some very prominent buildings in the Orange County area. There are some very prominent parks and different environments to where you cannot take photographs, literally. And if you even look like a professional, you better have a permit if you even try to take one picture. So knowing that, it really makes a bit of a challenge, but be prepared for it and just learn as much as you can. Really learn as much as you can. We're doing our best here to share as much information with you as possible in a very honest, free-flowing, open environment. And there's a lot of other educational programs that are out there. There's stuff that you can get for free. There's stuff that you can pay for. It really, it really depends on what you want.
What you want.
It really does. But I do encourage the more education that you can fill yourself with on a daily basis, the better. Because if you're not shooting, what are you doing? If you're paying more attention to playing video games or watching TV or going to the movies and hanging with your friends, if you really, really, really want to take on your craft full time and go for it and aim for the moon, it's going to take a lot of that effort as well to get there. It just doesn't happen overnight.
It's a very important. It really is. Important word. You have to be committed.
You have to be committed.
You have to be committed. Doesn't make sense.
I shoot 7 days a week. I was doing pictures earlier today. I mean, it's like, it was crazy. I was doing a little mini photo shoot. I received a gift from one of my clients, and it was awesome. And I was like, oh, well, I got to take pictures of this and share this. And so me and Duran Rex, wherever he is, he's around here somewhere. I have no idea where. Oh, here he comes.
Crazy.
He and I were doing a photo shoot earlier today. But think that way, you guys. If you want to be a great photographer, and I don't care what you want to shoot, if you want to shoot thumbtacks, congratulations. Go shoot thumbtacks and be the best thumbtack photographer you want to be. If you want to shoot extreme sports, fashion, weddings, portraits, furniture, cell phones, I don't care. I know for a fact I am not by any stretch of the means landscape photographer, still life photographer. I can do okay pictures, but that's not my thing. But I know that you give me people, and we're going to have a blast. We're going to go out and we're going to have a great time.
We're going to have a blast. I really want to shoot what inspires you.
Yeah, I really want people to shoot, like you said, what inspires them, what fills you. Because if you're not being filled as an artist, what are you doing?
What are you
Seriously.
doing? Why are
you're wasting your time.
Why are you investing time? Because your time has worth. If you are not making the conscious choice to dedicate every second of your life to something that you are both passionate and committed to, you have to question what you're spending time on. Binge watching Breaking Bad is rather fun. Guilty. But time well spent, I could have probably used that to brush up on, mastering something or reading up on my craft. And like, if I'm really promoting myself, like, okay, how can I get better? How can I get better? Because Ben Stein gave this wonderful little quote in his book called How to Ruin Your Life. It's basically a 101 on basically reverse psychology. And there's a chapter called The Best Way to Get Out of a Hole is to Stop Digging. So if you're at a standstill and you feel like you're in a funk, because I've been there, you're in a funk, like, I'm not creating new work, I'm not that good, my website is crap. I'm not getting referrals. I'm not really that present on social media. I don't master Photoshop. I don't do video. And you're into that toxic internal dialogue. Stop digging. You have to question what motivates you. Are you doing the right thing? Are you doing the right process? And we go back to studying the people that came before you. What are you doing? Reach out and create this. You have to be motivated. You have to awaken from the funk and get yourself out there. Understand that what's going wrong. Be true to yourself and make it happen. Because again, it's not going to be a snap of finger thing. You really have to be committed to it. And again, it takes time. It takes patience and it takes commitment, and it's all about that in everything, whether it's in photography or getting better at anything that drives you in life. And you have to be driven. You have to be wanting more for yourself. You have to be getting out of the status quo, because the day-to-day is not worth it. You have to have a purpose. You can't just be getting up, going to work, and again, it's not even about, I'm not asking everybody to just lose your day job and then just go shoot photos. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be passionate. Be passionate. I have a corporate life. But here I am, just making my thing happen and really embracing this creative side of myself, because it's what drives me. It really, you can see it in my eyes, you can see it in my voice. I enjoy this. I really do. I really do, and it transpires in my work. I'm really trying to make this another year. 2013 was rather personally heavy for me, but for a reason I won't get into. But hey, things happen, life happens, and you get back up. You get out of the funk, and then you push forward. That's just why we're here. We're here to inspire and motivate. I'm a regular Joe Schmo, and again, I make my photography happen, and I want to create more work. You saw it in my earlier post, from my first post of the year. I've got projects lined up throughout the entire year, some new, some old, and I want to make things happen. I might fall flat on my face by the end of the year, but if you don't try, why? Why not?
Exactly.
Why not? You just have to.
Each person has, from your experience, you have a different appreciation for life than me and from everybody else. And anybody that knows me knows that I've had quite a few experiences in my life that have continually added my level of appreciation for my life, to where I'm literally just taking my life and treating it like an orange and just squeezing every drop out of it that I can possibly get, every minute, every day, 7 days a week. If I'm not doing something to forward myself professionally in any facet of my career, in any facet of my craft, what am I doing? I struggle with that. It's not the best way to think for everybody, but that's how I think, and that's what makes me tick. And I really encourage anybody that's watching and listening to think about those things. What are you going to leave behind as your message? What are people going to remember you for? And that is going to be discovered when you discover how you want to live your life, what drives you, the level of appreciation you have for your life and for your craft. And whether it be travel photography, whether it be domestic photography, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. We just want to help you basically become a better photographer, a better artist, a better businessman, entrepreneur, whatever it might be. These are real-world facts that we're sharing with you that can be applied to any industry, but we're applying them to what we do, which is photography. And if you want to watch this and you want to learn from us, more than happy to share. If you look at my bio and you look at his, whoops, bump the camera, earthquake, like the other night, earthquake. If you want to look at what we've been through, you can follow us on social media. You can read our bio. If you want to learn a little bit more about what has put me to that state of mind in terms of level of appreciation for my life and for my craft, feel free to contact me anytime, and I'm more than happy to answer you candidly on that anytime. Just let me know.
That's what we're here for.
Let me know.
Open forum, free flowing. David,
I was just thinking, where can everybody find you at, sir?
Well, I'm basically the only Olivier Day. Well, not the only Olivier Day. I could say I'm the most vocal Olivier Day on the internet. But if you see on my little ticker there, you can find me on my website, olivierday.ca, or at Olivier Day. Basically, I'm on Facebook, on Twitter, on Google+. I've got my website, but my website would be basically the main portal. I really curated it. I relaunched it. I was working on it in December. I redid my work totally. New work, old work, so my portfolio is pretty much up to date. The website is there. So olivierday.ca. Pretty simple. Or at Olivier D. And basically, it's just it'll take you to all my local platforms, because I'm basically everywhere. I'm basically on LinkedIn, Google+, Twitter, Flickr. Well, I haven't been Flickr in a while, but still, I'm pretty much all over the place. But you know where to find me. Or just go on David's followers and you'll find me.
Pretty much. We should talk about that. We should address that. Now that we're talking about our social media presence, I think that's something that we should really address in our next conversation. Our online presence, our online persona.
Makes sense.
Simple question that I've been asked numerous times. David, do you ever have a bad day? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, how come I never see it? Why? I think
Why?
that's something that we should address. Let's talk about that. You just inspired me to think about like how we can possibly help everybody else, and it's a growing process, and it's organic, and it changes.
It's a growing process. This is just
crazy.
It's just going to be a teaser. It's going to be a teaser, but it's one thing we're going to talk about in the next conversation. Hold on to this. You have to get as much social media real estate, jump on it like right now. It is not a coincidence that you are the Esquire photo on the internet. It is not a coincidence because you are present, because you just Google David Esquire or Esquire photography. Chances are pretty good he's like everywhere. The Knot, Wedding Wire, Google Plus, Twitter. Chances are he's pretty much conquered it all. So you really have to understand that it's the new Alamo. It's the new Klondike.
It's the new style.
You really have to populate every single form of media landscape. And again, understand that your persona is your brand. You are a brand. You are. I'm giving away too much right now. Let me stop.
Yeah, don't.
Let me stop. Next conversation. Next panel. Next conversation. Oh man, David, it's been again such a privilege. Again, thank you so much for your time. To everybody who's been watching, again, you can always find David at esquirephotography.com. You can find me on olivierday.ca. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. We only hope that you guys can take as much as you can in terms of motivation, inspiration for not just your photography, but your craft and your personal empowerment, because this is what we aim to do. This is our message. We just want you guys to understand that it is within you, and you have that fire within you to be better and get better and always stay awesome. And David, again, thank you so much for your time and insight. It's been wonderful. I know you're off to Atlanta in the next 2 days, so again, travel safe. And again, keep us posted via Google Plus and all your social media platforms. Definitely. And if anything, again, just looking forward to our next meeting. And as always, just always thank you, and thank you for always being such an inspiration, and thank you for all the motivation, all the great messages, because it's always something to look forward to.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And until our next conversation, like I say in all my other videos, and I'll see you soon.
Have a great evening, David. You take care.
See you guys later. Cheers.
Ciao.